George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, and their wives are super excited about this. Hey, welcome to the Best 49ers show. We're the Best 49ers host, Cohn and Ryan G. Hensley. I haven't done a live stream since the 49ers traded Jordan Mason. I did my little instant reaction, and then I stewed on it for 2 days. I didn't like it. So here's what happened, folks, if you didn't see. The 49ers cut Kyle Juszczyk. This was a big, bold move for the franchise, going in a new direction. No more fullbacks, no more overpaid people who just go in motion. But then 4 days later, they re-signed him. I don't know why. They didn't even save much money, like $600,000. And to re-sign him, they traded Jordan Mason because Jordan Mason is now getting paid that same amount of money by the Vikings, and the Vikings got him for peanuts. Why do you think the Niners chose to keep soon-to-be 34-year-old Kyle Juszczyk over soon-to-be 26-year-old Jordan Mason?
Well, I don't know if that did they do that. I'm just confused about why they decided to keep Juice. I don't know if it's kept Juice over Mason. Like Mason to me was gone the moment they extended, restructured, guaranteed Christian McCaffrey $19 million a year, $38 million. That's when Jordan Mason was gone, which is in June 2024. You know, I told everybody Mason's gone. Like you can't pay a halfback $19 million and then give a second contract to a Jordan Mason. So I'm not surprised Jordan Mason was gone. I always expected him to be gone. Really, it's so peculiar that they cut Juice and then brought him back, and that they've been saying that they're trying to get younger and cheaper, and they still have the highest paid fullback in the NFL, I believe. And
can I just say real quick though, like while you say you can't have like Mason on the team while McCaffrey's making this money, Mason's getting 2 years, $7 million guaranteed from the Vikings. Juszczyk's getting about the same from the 49ers. I'd rather spend that money on a 26-year-old running back who could score touchdowns and catch passes and actually run the ball and average 5.2 yards per carry than spend that money on a glorified H-back. I mean, a guy who doesn't run the ball, not a threat in short yardage, catches one pass a game maybe. I mean, he plays a different position than McCaffrey, but I don't want him on the field. I'd rather have Luke Farrell on the field.
If it's either or, I'm with you, right? Like if those are the choices, Juice or Jordan Mason, I'm with you. I would have chose Jordan Mason also. But generally speaking, I don't like paying running backs, period. Like I don't like having Juice. Like the thing that we're not talking about Kyle Juszczyk is that he hasn't been good in the blocking game. That's a big thing that no one's really talking about. When I watched him last year, like there were games where I specifically let me watch Kyle Juszczyk in the blocking game. And it was not good. He's not moving bodies anymore. Like he used to be pretty good blocker. Like he'd put some dudes on their back and would drive with his feet and get low. And when I'm watching him now, his blocking is not very good. So to pay him $1 million per touch, which is basically what the new contract is, makes no sense to me. Now, as far as like Jordan Mason goes, I think the real question, and we'll see what happens, is like, did they make a mistake re-signing Christian McCaffrey? And so
see, that's what I was going to say. I'd rather trade Christian than trade Jordan. Like one guy's almost 30 and has a ton of mileage and has been hurt a lot, and one guy's almost 26 and would cost you 2 years, $7 million. It's nothing.
That's the thing. That's the one, right? Like Juice, I don't know what the hell that is. Like that's just like we're
going to come back to Juice in a second. I know what the hell that is, but let's talk about Mason for a second.
Yeah, like Mason, it's Mason and CMC. That's really like what we're gonna look back on and see. Like, is CMC ever gonna make a comeback and play the way he did prior years? If he does, then hey, that's great. But like, is he really at his age coming off that injury? I don't know, man. And I'm not a big fan of paying running backs top tier money anyway. So especially in this draft where there's a ton of running backs coming out of the draft.
You got to remember that Jordan Mason was like the third leading rusher in the NFL through like 5 or 6 weeks in the NFL in the season last year. Yeah. And I just like he's ascending, he's entering his prime, you let him go. And I think, I don't know, would they have traded him if they hadn't changed their mind about Juszczyk? I don't know. I guess we'll never know. So like the question is why they changed their mind about Juszczyk. You cut him. You took on a $3-point-something million dead cap penalty. That's cap space you can't use this year to cut him. Then you brought him back and saved roughly $600,000. So my theory is that George Kittle got upset and said, "What are you doing? Like, I want Juszczyk on the team." Well, I don't even know if he said it, but he just made it clear. I mean, he put out posts on social media with the pictures and the heartbreak emojis. I mean, he got his point across. We all understood where George was coming from. And the Niners brought his friend back. And then when they brought his friend back, Kittle and he was putting like heart emojis, so happy, juice emojis. His wife was excited. McCaffrey's wife was excited on social media. It seems to me like kind of inappropriate. Like, what about goodbye, Jordan Mason? Hey, Jordan was a great teammate. It's sad to see you go. Where's that social media post? It's very cliquish, but we already know that about this team.
It seems like the 49ers started off this offseason cutthroat and making football decisions, and they gave way to their old mentality, which is like, hey, we're a family. These are my friends, and not making a football decision. Because I know a lot of people like Juszczyk, but he's honestly not a great blocker. He's a good receiver, doesn't get a lot of targets. He's not the best running back. He doesn't get a lot of opportunities to run. When he does, he fumbles on the goal line. Like, Juice is okay. He's not really a fullback. I wanted the 49ers to get a big-ass fullback that can just move bodies, and, a fullback that you can count on the goal line to get you 2-3 yards, which is not really what Juice is. He's more of like a tight end too that plays in the backfield. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me why they went with Juice, but I guess the obvious answer is it's just politics and preferential treatment and who they like as people. It didn't seem like a football move.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a football move. It seemed like, I don't know. I think George Kittle has a lot of power on this team. Like, Juszczyk getting brought back. They also brought back Trent Taylor last year. Trent Taylor, he's on the practice squad. Like, how many of George Kittle's friends do they need? If George Kittle and Trent Taylor weren't super close friends, would Trent Taylor be on the practice squad? He's in his 30s. And here's another thing about Juszczyk. Like, what does he do? Okay, he's a specialist. He's a fullback. You say his blocking is deteriorating. I would agree, but some people feel that the fullback position is just so important to the Niners system. Okay, fine. But the thing about a fullback, they should be young and playing special teams as well, because you don't make that big of an impact on offense. And the Niners special teams is a huge issue. You're trying to like find impact players on that phase. And Juszczyk doesn't play special teams. He doesn't do that because he's so important. And no, because he's 34. I don't know. I think you need more young players who are eager to play special teams. Like Jimmy Ward is playing special teams in his freaking 30s. I don't understand why Juszczyk doesn't. He needs to. He doesn't do enough.
Yeah, I don't even know if he did. Well, I don't even know if he'd be a good special team player, to be real.
That's the problem.
Punt catcher, yeah.
Get hurt.
I don't know if he's tackling anybody or anything like that. I don't know, man. Yep. I think it just gave way to politics, man. That's it ended up being what happened. They made the right decision by letting him go. They brought him back for George Kittle, for Kyle Shanahan. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. You can get a fullback who probably blocks better as a UDFA. You can find those guys, right? You can convert a defensive tackle like Harbaugh did on the Chargers, a 300-pounder that can block and move bodies on the goal line. The Juice one is just simply that's a friend of the team, friend of Kyle's, friend of Kittle's. That's what that move seems like to me.
Yeah, and it's going to be rough if he's over in Minnesota winning games, producing, while the 49ers have this really old core. Like, they're trying to get younger, but they're also preserving the Cabo clique. It's to the bitter end. I mean, like, they won something. Juszczyk will probably be here 2 more years. Kittle will probably be here 2 more years at least. Same with McCaffrey. Same with Trent Williams if he doesn't retire. Those are 4 old players.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of their success is going to be determined on CMC. A lot of these moves that they're making right now, like, what is CMC going to look like? Because, I knew Elijah Mitchell was going to be gone. I knew Jordan Mason was going to be gone. I'm not surprised at all that Jordan Mason isn't here. And, good luck to him. He had trouble staying healthy last year, and he's going to play on the turf 8 or 9 weeks out of the year. And I hope he does good, and I hope he's healthy. I don't like paying running backs, but when they paid Christian McCaffrey $38 million, $19 million per year, the writing was on the wall for Jordan Mason. And if you're Jordan Mason, do you really want to play for the 49ers? Because if CMC's healthy, you're not getting – what are you getting? 2 touches a game? So, Jordan Mason probably wanted to leave too.
I just feel like when we talk about how come the Niners struggle to play their best players, how come they so often have backups who are just rotting on the bench and then they get an opportunity to play and they're so clearly better than the starter? It's happened over and over and over again. And it's like
politics.
Well, we talk about roster politics, but what do the politics come from? Is this Kyle Shanahan being an unreasonable dictator, or is this Kyle Shanahan sort of like capitulating to the desires of the most powerful players on his team? Is this, was it Kyle who didn't give Trey Lance a chance, or was it Juszczyk and Kittle and these guys? They're like, nah, not for us.
It's both. I think it's both, and it depends on who it is. I think with CMC, that's Kyle's Kyle loves CMC. I think with Juice, I'm sure he likes him also and likes his leadership in the locker room, but I think that's capitulating to the George Kittle, right? It's like when they drafted Trey Lance and the team decided that Jimmy Garoppolo would start, right? Like Kyle does have that tendency to fold and to not.
Kyle was trying to compromise, man. He's like, what about a 2 quarterback system? What about if I let Jimmy take him into the red zone and then then Kittle and Juszczyk or it seemed were like, no, we don't like that. It's not good. Jimmy's our friend.
Back to 49ers football.
That's what he said first thing. Dude, Trey Lance was in the hospital with a broken leg, and Juszczyk is grinning at the post-game press conference like, hey, wasn't that fun? Didn't that look good? Sorry.
Yeah. He seems like
it's just players who are in and players who are out. And I think what's interesting is like Greenlaw left. He basically said sayonara 49ers because he was never in. He did so much of the dirty work. You could argue he was there. A lot of the players said he was the most important player on the team or on the defense. Yeah. And they never really marketed him the way they did Fred Warner or Nick Bosa, and he's gone.
The thing that bugs me the most about it is that it's going to hinder Kyle's. Like, I was glad that they got rid of Debo because to me it was like give some freedom to Kyle because we know Kyle is going to fold to that pressure of having Debo Samuel on your team. Like, I got to get Debo the ball, and I felt like they were moving away from that, and they were putting Kyle in a position to where he didn't have to make those decisions anymore because he didn't have the option. But now Juice is back, and it feels like that's one of those situations where Kyle's going to feel like he needs to do something because a player who basically holds more weight than Kyle or Kyle allows to hold more weight than him is back on the team.
Yeah. I'm not saying Juszczyk has more power than Shanahan, but it does feel like Kittle has as much or more and is throwing his weight around to the detriment of the team. George, you're a great player, man, but like, you got to be, this was a bad personnel decision if it was yours. Whoever made this personnel decision at the last minute, this was very Kyle Shanahan running into the front office saying, no, we got to keep Brandon Ayuk, dude. This was no good. Let's take some super chats. All Niner Force says Kyle had a couple sleepless nights thinking about his scheme without a fullback. Maybe Kyle, or maybe it was his player. Dave Barclay says 2 of the best. Why are Niners so dumb? Fire Lyle. Yeah, a strong head coach would be nice. Brian Berquist says from a business standpoint, Juice doesn't get us a better draft pick, and Mason did because he was worth more. An excuse to keep him. The thing about Mason, though, is they didn't get much for Mason, which is because running backs are a dime a dozen.
And that's why, I thought Mason, again, when they extended CMC, I thought there's no way that Mason's going to be back. So it's not a surprise to me.
I just love it for the Vikings because 1, their quarterback is on a rookie deal, so they can splurge a little bit. And 2, they really want to go all in and win the Super Bowl right now. And yeah, you could get a rookie and he could be good, but Jordan Mason is good and he's going to be good now. So it's a great fit for them.
Yeah.
I like the timeshare potential between him and Aaron Jones.
I like Jordan Mason a lot. His contract is pretty affordable. Typically, I don't like paying running backs, but that contract is not bad at all.
No, and what's cool too about that team is when you have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, you got light boxes, 2 high safeties. He's gonna eat. He's gonna be good.
Dude, if he stays healthy, he's gonna have a good season, I think.
Yeah. Brian Berquist says paying a blocking tight end and keeping Juice is their band-aid so they don't have to invest in the O-line past Trent Williams. Yeah, we paid a lot of money on blockers. What are you talking about?
Yeah, matter of fact, what's crazy to me, Al Sacco.
Mm-hmm.
He laid out the money. He's the total amount that they're paying on tight ends. I mean, offensive line outside of Trent Williams is less than they're paying on a backup tight end and a fullback. They're spending more for their backup tight end and fullback, $10.7 million, than they are for, if you exclude Trent Williams, the rest of the offensive line.
That's crazy. And why do they do that? Here's my theory. Kyle is so much more concerned about running than passing. He's a run game guy. So he's more concerned about run blocking than pass blocking. And in the outside zone, the most important blocks are the ones on the edges because you're trying to get the edge. All the stuff in the interior is more like cutback lanes. So the tight end, the fullback, those are the key blocks.
Wide receivers. Yeah.
Those are the key blocks. You're trying to get the edge. Yeah. So that's why Kyle Shanahan really doesn't value the offensive line. It's like those aren't,
which is annoying though, because sometimes you just need to get 3 yards. You just need to be able to put your head down and go straight and get 3 yards. And
they can't ever do that.
Right.
Harbaugh's teams can do that. All the Niners, they invest in the left tackle because that's the guy who can keep the quarterback healthy. But other than that, the offensive line is there's like cones. They're,
the Eagles. Look how they were able to dominate, right? They, like the tush push. Niners have nothing like that.
No. And they won't as long as Kyle's here, which is why I wanted Ben Johnson. Look what Ben Johnson's doing with the Bears. What's the first thing he did?
New offensive, invested in a center, 2 guards, and the interior of the trenches as well. Defensive tackles and a pass rusher. Yeah, they're
first
dominating.
Thing.
Yep. And that's what I
messing around
talked about. That's why I was interested in Ben Johnson, because I know coming from the Lions, most likely he values the offensive line like the Lions did.
Yeah, D-line's important, sure, but offensive line is way more important. Mm-hmm. Dave Barclay says 24 and 57 have been my favorite guys as of late. I always like the guys like Greenlaw, Ward, Mason, the player who's good, but the Niners, for whatever reason, don't market them, push them, embrace them. They're just not really part of the clique. They just aren't. And I like that because I feel like I'm an outsider a lot of times.
Yeah. That Greenlaw one is tough for me, man, because I understand he's injured. And I think they believe in D winners, and maybe Saleh can bring the best out of him. I do like Bethune. I do like Robinson. But Greenlaw, I just have a feeling is going to go to Denver and be really freaking good.
If he stays healthy, he's going to be great, because we saw him last year. He was great coming off this injury. He just needs to stay healthy. I don't know if he can, but he didn't get paid a ton of money.
They're getting him 3 years for 11.6, which is pretty affordable.
Nothing. Yeah. And again, they brought back Juszczyk for the culture, for the locker room. You really think Renardo Green even knows who 34-year-old Juszczyk is friends with a specific group of players. And as a guy who was in the locker room every day last year, Juszczyk was hardly in there, man. It's a bunch of 24-year-olds playing basketball, and Trent Taylor. I don't know why Trent Taylor is there on the team, but he's there shooting hoops. He's really good at shooting hoops.
It's
Ronnie Bell.
Kittle's roommate, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised Beathard isn't on the freaking team. Jason Lutt says you're missing the point on Juicy, possibly the best ambi runner in league history. Most guys can't go left and right, left to right and right to left. That's true. He is Zoolander couldn't do that until the end of the Zoolander. He could breakdance fight, but he couldn't. I really like Zoolander. Is that a silly movie? I think it's a great movie.
Silly movies are good sometimes.
So yeah, good time. Harris says they're re-signing Tang to make George want to stay. Oh, is that like, hey George, we're not going to extend you, but we'll bring your friend back?
I feel like they will extend George too.
Yeah, man, they got to keep everyone happy, dude, except for Greenlaw and Mason, but everyone else.
Right.
Citybird says, is the WAG drama with players real or fake?
WAG. What is WAG?
Wives and girlfriends. Why is it girl?
Is it drama or is it just a clique? I think they're just great friends, all of them. I think that's true.
Are they? Are they great friends, all of them? I don't really know. Is Sidney Warner super good friends with Olivia Culpo, or I don't know. I mean, did Fred Warner get invited to the McCaffrey's?
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
No, I don't know that.
Are they all super good friends, or are some of them super good friends? We know that Juszczyk, Kittle, and McCaffrey are all super BFFs.
We should start like a TMZ style wife drama 49ers channel. I don't know.
Dude, I would get fired so fast. Shreddy Murphy says, I'm not saying that. Scatty Boo, he says ethnic cleansing. Scatty Boo incoming. Yeah, we all thought it, though. We did all think it. Rod Simmons says, York took keys to the roster away from Kyle. Does Solon Lynch retool this defense? Who decides what pieces fit new current scheme? Rod, I felt that, but do you really think they took the keys to the roster away when Kyle signed Mac Jones and Luke Farrell and Kyle Juszczyk? I don't know. They gutted the defense for sure, though.
Yeah. If they don't extend Brock Purdy, Mac Jones is going to make basically the same as Brock Purdy this year.
I know. Okay, so speaking of that, what were the Niners' best offseason moves so far? There's got to be some good ones.
There's a few good ones, but let me start with the sleeper one that I think is really good. That no one's probably talking about. Ben Bartch. I only got to see Ben Bartch for a game and a half, so this could be complete BS. But in that game and a half, he looked really good. He looked a lot better than Aaron Banks did, and he's a guy I wanted them to extend, even when I think he had a high ankle sprain. He's a guy I wanted them to extend, and they did. No one was really talking about it, but there's a good chance Ben Bartch is your starting left guard this coming year. I think that's a high possibility.
Let me tell you something about Ben Bartch. So he was a 4th-round pick in 2020, and he was developed by offensive line coach George Warhop, who I know personally. I interviewed his wife like 10 years ago for a story I did for Sports Illustrated. He's been in the league since like 1996. He's often the only African-American offensive line coach in the NFL. There might be a couple others, but he's the guy, and he's great. He's been with the Niners at least once. And he's really good. He's currently the Ravens offensive line coach. And Forrester mentioned like he was talking to Warhop one day, and Warhop's like, dude, Ben Bartch, you got to look at this guy. He's good. So that's why he's here. He is good. He's had a little bit of issues like staying healthy, but if he stays healthy, his competition is going to be Spencer Burford and a rookie. So yeah, he can win that job.
Yeah.
I like Spencer Burford. He can win that job too.
Yeah, it's a sleeper one that a lot of people aren't talking about, but he looked good from this brief time we got to see him. So I'm intrigued by that one for sure. What's one that you have? What's the best one in your opinion?
Trading Debo was the start towards a serious offseason. I liked it. Cutting Juszczyk. I love that move. What they did after, I'm not going to talk about that, but actually cutting him, that was money. Trading Debo, that was money. Saying that they would consider trading Ayuk, that was good.
I got one.
Go ahead.
I think DeMarcus Robinson is actually a decent signing, man. I remember watching him last year when Kupp was out.
Yep.
And he was playing, and I'm like, this dude's pretty good, dude. He had a couple nice catches. So I think that's a good mid-tier type wide receiver, and they got him for a good amount. I think he's a better wide receiver. Let me say this. I think he's a better wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. I think he is. Maybe he's not breaking tackles, but he's a better wide receiver.
I agree with that. I think he's a better wide receiver than Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, he looked like it.
Who the Seahawks just spent a ton of money on for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I like that move too.
One. Yeah.
And he fits the Niners' elderly timeline.
Right.
He might just go to Cabo. Probably can afford it.
What about Mac Jones?
I really like the Mac Jones signing because Kyle Shanahan is invested. Kyle Shanahan likes him and wants to set him up for success, which you don't always know that about quarterbacks. And he's here on a 2-year deal, not a 1-year deal. You saw what happened with Sam Darnold, and you're thinking maybe you could do it again with another 1st-round pick who fits the system. Mac Jones was an obvious one, him or Zach Wilson. And Mac Jones was even cheaper. So I like it. It seems like low risk, potentially the highest reward. This is the most important position. You should be acquiring quarterbacks like this, guys who have pedigree, are young, but are on the scrap heap because they've played for terrible teams or whatever. Find out for yourself.
Can we talk about something in regards to Brock Purdy?
Yeah.
So the fact, thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
The fact that they signed Mac Jones, applies a lot of pressure to me on Brock Purdy, not only from a performance standpoint, but contractually. And then there's two things I talked about it towards the end of last season, like two things to watch: the quality and the timing of the backup quarterback that they bring in. Mac Jones is I was never a Mac Jones guy. I'm still really not. And I'm not saying he's better than Brock Purdy. I've never been a big fan of Mac Jones, but from a backup standpoint, that's a pretty high quality. That's a high first round draft pick that they brought in to back up Mr. Irrelevant. So that's pressure contractually. Like, okay, you don't want to sign this $45 million 3-year contract? Fine. Play out your contract, and Mac Jones is right behind you. I think that's pretty significant. And not only that, the other thing I want to talk about is what they offered Brock Purdy was, from all accounts, $45 million per year and only 3 years guarantee. Those are the two things I wanted everyone to watch as far back as last offseason. To me, if they believe Brock Purdy was the future for years and years and years to come, you're not trying to lock him in for just 3 years, $45 million, and you're not bringing in Mac Jones.
This is like a glorified Baker Mayfield deal, a glorified Sam Darnold extension, like that, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. To me, that being in the middle is sort of what mediocre teams aspire to. Like, you either have a quarterback who's truly worth $50+ million a year, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. I mean, even Jalen Hurts is worth that to the Eagles because they only win with him. Or you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, like Washington, like Denver, like Chicago, like Minnesota. Minnesota's going that route right now. They're like, you know what, Sam, you're good, dude. You're really good, and we had a lot of success with you, but you were dirt cheap for us this year. We're not going to go into that middle class of quarterback. We don't want to. It's just purgatory, even though you're worth it. So go do that with Seattle, who have no freaking aspirations of going anywhere. Mediocre is where they live. And we'll go take a risk with a quarterback who's never played it down in the NFL and let him take over a championship roster. That's an aggressive move. And the Niners are going right into like Seattle Seahawks, Las Vegas Raiders territory, Tampa Bay Buccaneers territory. Like, respectable, maybe.
Yeah. The 49ers have no reason. There's none. Like, it was always, they have all the leverage with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's options are play on $5 million and bet on yourself, or take life-changing money, $45 million, 3 years. He absolutely 100% should do that, because if he doesn't and the 49ers hold strong and something happens to him, knock on wood, with that arm, Mac Jones steps in, does better, he may never have an opportunity like this again. I feel like the Niners have all the leverage right now.
But like, I agree. Like, from the Niners perspective, from my perspective, I wouldn't want Purdy to take my low ball offer. Like, if I give him an offer that's like mid, the 3-year, not quite a franchise quarterback offer, and he takes it, and then that tells me he thinks he's mid. And he knows he's not a franchise quarterback. Like, when the Ravens offered Lamar Jackson an extension, he was like, absolutely not. I'm the best player in the league. What are you talking about? I'm really that guy. And he stood on that, and he got it, and he's proven it. And you want that from your freaking quarterback. Steve Young would have been like that. Are you kidding? He would have been like, you know what, guys? You know it. I know it. We all know it. I'm not that good. I'm pretty good. Pretty good, but I'm not top 10. Like, no. The quarterback needs to think that, needs to believe it. And if Brock's over here being like, let's give me something fair, then that's all the more reason to not commit yourself to this as much as you like him.
If Brock doesn't believe it and the Niners don't believe it, that's not good. Like, they need to believe in it, or why do it? Just, it's like, look,
we're gonna get married, but you're not the one for me, and I know you're not the one for me, and we're probably gonna get divorced in 3 years. So, but let's do it. It's gonna be fun. Come on, let's do it. Yeah.
That's how it feels.
It's kind of how it feels. So, look, I want to tie up this topic, best move of the offseason. The Niners not giving Brock Purdy 5 years, $60 million a year. I mean, Lombardi early in the offseason was really hammering. He's worth 60. He's going to get $60.1 million a year, and he's the most efficient quarterback. And that's what he sounds like to me. He's the most efficient quarterback in the NFL, and he's the best, and he's going to get. No, dude, absolutely not. The Niners aren't working like that this year. They're going to actually negotiate toughly. And I like that. I think they're doing a good job with Brock right now.
It's a good year to finally get back to being a little bit more cutthroat when you're negotiating with a quarterback that. And here's the other thing nobody's talking about, Grant. Everyone expected there to be news after the season that Brock Purdy suffered an injury, and that's why, his deep balls were being thrown short, and that's why his arm looked a little weaker than it did in the previous season. But we still have no idea what's going on with Brock's arm. Was it hurt? Like everyone, even his biggest supporters, are like, "Well, he's only throwing that way because he's hurt." That was their explanation for the way he was throwing. But maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's just his arm. So that's another thing. Maybe the Niners know more than we do. I'm sure they do. But I'm still curious about, is Brock Purdy's arm healthy?
Yeah, like whenever we ask Brock Purdy about his arm, he just shuts it down. Like, it's fine, which makes me feel like we're not getting any type of transparency about that from him. It's fine. It's fine. Right. Because if you actually told us if something were going on and you told us, that could cost you money. But it seems like if there were any type of lingering effects or things he has to do during the week or the year to get ready to actually play, the Niners would know, and they would probably use that against him in the negotiations because it's cut.
And maybe that's what's going on. We don't know,
That is true. Caesar says, was it dumb to bring Salah back while technically rebuilding? Because is it possible he's gone after this season? Well, if you give him absolutely nothing to work with, maybe he'll be here for a few years.
Yeah, it might not look too great.
I mean, I don't exactly look. This
you can,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said I think it's good to bring back Salah whenever you can, even if he is gone.
Yeah. That being said, it's a defense that finished 29th out of 32 teams in points allowed last year, and it's like they've just lost 7 starters, 3 D linemen, 1 linebacker, safety, and a corner, and maybe more than that. I mean, damn.
Is it possible Kalia Davis and Evan Anderson, you're starting defensive tackles?
The thing with Kalia Davis is that he looked hella good in the preseason. He did. But he's never stayed healthy. If he could, he seemed like he could actually be good. Evan Anderson was definitely promising for an undrafted free agent rookie who didn't have an NFL body. Like, he could be a totally different guy this year if he takes it seriously. Those two guys have upside. Jordan Elliott does not. Kevin Givens, really not.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
What were the Niners' biggest head scratchers this offseason? Moves that you just don't understand?
Well, we talked about one, but what about trying to get younger and cheaper and then getting rid of your younger, cheaper long snapper for a 39-year-old guy who's a little bit more expensive? Like, what was that about, man? What was that about? I'm still trying to figure it out. Tabor Pepper.
I mean, they brought in a new special teams coach who's probably like saying, I can jazz up this unit. I can make it so much better. And he's looking for ways to do that. And he says, I can get a better long snapper. It's just such a strange place to start. Like that that was the one thing that was actually good with the special teams. You brought in a guy who's 9 years older.
I don't remember a time when I'm like, damn it, Tabor Pepper. Like, I can't remember an instant where he messed up a snap or did something. So it's curious to me. And then you bring in a 39-year-old guy. I mean, maybe he's fine. Like, I just don't understand that one. That one was curious. Kind of came out of nowhere for me, but not a big one.
Yeah, really, there are long snappers. I would assume that the new guy's going to be good too. I would assume. Other head scratchers. I mean, the Luke Farrell thing in general. You gave Luke Farrell almost $7 million a year on average. It's like what McKivitz makes too. Like, this guy's not. Is he really going to play that much? Is he going to be important? You're going to throw him 10 passes this year? I don't understand letting someone like Greenlaw go and giving, not the same amount of money, but comparable money to a blocking tight end. This role isn't that important in the offense. He's Charlie Warner.
Yeah, I remember everyone on Twitter is like
Charlie Warner isn't getting paid this much money.
No one missed Charlie Warner. I don't know. My opinion.
I can't remember one Charlie Warner highlight from his entire career with the Niners. The best Charlie Warner play of his career with the Niners. I couldn't tell you what that was.
Maybe they see potential in him to be more than just a blocking tight end, is my best guess, because I've never seen a tight end who's just
they saw potential in Cam Latu also though.
They did, but this is also another draft where there's a ton of really good tight ends. So it didn't make sense. Maybe they've accepted the fact that they can't draft tight ends except for George Kittle because they've failed every time they've tried to draft another tight end. They've put a lot of draft capital into tight ends and failed every single time outside of George Kittle. So maybe it's some self-reflection, some self-awareness, and maybe that's what it is, but it still seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, I think they've really wanted to have a good blocking tight end for years, and they've just been completely incapable of finding that guy. They drafted a Caden Smith. I mean, Cam Latu was a big investment, and if you remember, they drafted him right after Brock Purdy got his arm mangled in Philly in the NFC Championship game because Kyle wanted a tight end to block Hassan Reddick on a play action pass. And instead of Kyle being like, ooh, that's on me, I won't do that anymore, he's like, no, that's our scheme. So he doubled down and spent like premium capital on a player who supposedly maybe could have been able to do that, except that he was completely awful at football. There was that. But now it's like, okay, well, let's spend a lot of money on this position so we make sure we get a guy who can block. I mean, this guy's still going to not be able to block an edge rusher.
Can I say how dumb I think it is to focus on getting a tight end that's a blocking tight end, right? Throw another tackle out there if that's what you're doing. If you just want him to block, throw out your backup tackle. Like try to find a tight end that can do everything. That's like, in basketball, like I want to, a guy that can go to the rack, but like I want a point guard that can't shoot threes, right? I want to find a tight end that can do everything, or just throw out a tackle if you want. Throw out a jumbo package with a tackle.
That's what Ben Johnson does.
Right. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, try to refine
if
George
everyone
Kittle.
In the world knows this tight end is not a threat to catch a pass, what is the point of having him out there blocking? You could just have another offensive tackle out there blocking.
That's my
point.
It'd
be better.
That's
the same thing with Juszczyk too. Like, if all he is a lead blocker, why don't you get a lead blocker who's like 6'1", 300 pounds, as opposed to 6'1", 240? I mean, like, neither one's a freaking threat to run the ball or catch the ball, but at least this guy, like that's what Ricard is in Baltimore. He's a fullback, but they don't give him the ball. He's just a former defensive tackle who mauls people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah, I don't understand the point of just looking for a blocking tight end. Throw out a lineman if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, they should be trying to find the most complete, well-rounded tight end that they can, and through the draft, right? That's my opinion.
All right, so it's interesting that the Niners, like, really, I don't think you can find another team that's taken as big of a step back on paper as the Niners. I mean, all the starters they've lost. We can go through it real quick, but Javarius Ward, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Debo, Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore. I mean, on and on and on. A bunch of starters on a team that was 6-11 last year. Yes, some guys were hurt and are coming back. Almost $85 million in dead cap space, and yet they're still considered. I mean, do you think the expectation should be that they should make the playoffs, or is this like, you know what, they're resetting? The organization understands if they go 7-10 this year, it's okay because they're looking at the big picture.
When you say expectations, whose expectations are you talking about? My expectations, the fans, the
organization's expectations. The organization's expectations.
I think as long as Christian McCaffrey is healthy, their expectations should be to make the playoffs, especially with this schedule. And I feel that way too. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be the determining factor on this team. They still have the same offensive line that got them essentially. I mean, no Aaron Banks. But outside of that, essentially the same offensive line that got them to the Super Bowl. They still have Christian McCaffrey. They upgraded to me by getting rid of Deebo Samuel. So offensively, as long as Brock's healthy, as long as Christian McCaffrey's healthy, they should have high expectations for that offense. What they do on the defensive interior and what Robert Saleh is able to pull out of like D winners, that's going to determine like how good the defensive is. But yeah, I mean, their expectations should be that we get to the playoffs. Now, I don't know if they expect to win the Super Bowl, this year.
No, but I do think they expect to make the playoffs. And I think what the organization, what the owners are going to say to Kyle is like, we don't care. I mean, we gave you all this money. You did nothing with it. You won 6 games. Now we're slashing prices, but we're not. I mean, slashing spending, but we're not getting rid of your whole team. Like you just said, you have a lot of your key players, and there's a ton of dead cap, and that doesn't help, obviously. But the Rams had that. The Rams had that 2 years ago, and won 10 games, went to the playoffs, lost to the Lions by 1 point in the first round. Clearly, they were on the upswing, and then they did it again last year. 10-7 went to the divisional round. Last year, the Bills had more than $75 million in dead cap space. They won 13 games. They went to the AFC Championship game. So if Kyle's a really good coach, and with this schedule, he should be able to win 10 games, go to the playoffs, and be competitive. And if he does that, he'll be fine. But if he wins 7 games and misses the playoffs, I think the organization can say, well, we put you in a similar position to Sean McDermott and Sean McVay, and you couldn't come through. So maybe you're not as good as them.
There's 2 players on this team, and if they go down for long periods of time, they're kind of screwed because they don't have the depth as of right now. Maybe they'll pull up some rookies, but if Christian McCaffrey doesn't stay healthy this year, that contract looks awful, and the 49ers might struggle offensively again. Also, Trent Williams, they lost Jalen Moore, who ended up being a good backup for Trent Williams. Who's going to be the backup for Trent Williams if Trent Williams can't play this year, if he goes down with an injury? Those 2 guys are the key to me for the 49ers to have success this year. Trent has to stay healthy. Christian McCaffrey has to stay healthy for the 49ers to have any shot of success. And if they don't, that's Kyle's, boom, here's my excuse,
That's true. I think also there's a lot of pressure on Brock. Like, he's probably going to get paid a lot of money, probably at a certain point. And it's not like they're going to trade him and then all of a sudden pivot to spending a bunch of money on other players that they would have been spending on Brock. Like, they're slashing their spending, and Brock's going to be here, and he's going to be probably pretty expensive. And they're going to say, well, this is what it takes to have a franchise quarterback, and he's going to have to elevate the team. Like Stafford did with the Rams the last couple of years, and Allen did with the Bills the last couple of years when their top wide receiver is Khalil Shakir. Problem is, we've seen Brock try to elevate a team. He can't. He's not that kind of quarterback. He had to elevate the team last year, and in close games in the second half, he made big mistakes, big turnovers, big interceptions. So I just feel like you're going to be really disappointed instantly with that contract this year because you're gonna learn what you already know about Brock Purdy.
Yeah, he's strong. I mean, so his second year or his first full year, Brock looked pretty damn good. But then last year did not look very good. So there's got to be some apprehensiveness from the 49ers and wanting to pay Brock that contract. And imagine they pay him that big contract and his agent does a good job negotiated and he's 50+ million, and then Purdy comes out and looks like he did last year or worse. That could be a big problem. And then
why wouldn't he? Christian McCaffrey coming back will help, but he's not going to be out there forever. He's getting older. He gets hurt and dinged up. He's a running back. And again, we've seen what Brock looks like without McCaffrey, without Ayuk. It's not that great.
And if I'm Jed York right now, I'm like questioning everything. I'm questioning whether I want Kyle to be my long-term. Like this is year 9 for Kyle. Yeah. Like if you don't make the playoffs this year, you got to go. So I don't want to commit to a quarterback if the coach might be gone, right?
That's right.
And with Brock, there's so many questions. Is he healthy? Can he stay healthy? What's the real Brock Purdy look like? Is it the guy we saw last year? Is it the guy we saw the year before? Or is it something in between or worse? Like we really don't know. There's a lot of stuff that Jed York needs to be cautious with before he commits to, in my opinion.
Yeah, it almost seems like the Niners, to me, Kyle should be on the hot seat now. But with the extensions they've given out, like 2 years to Juszczyk, it almost feels like it's 2 more years. We're going to reset, and we're going to give you 2 drafts. We're not spending any more on players, and we'll see how you do. But
this contract,
this is a mini reset, and we'll keep the older players. But we could do a full-on rebuild in a couple of years, get rid of all these older guys that you're friends with, and you, and Brock, and go a totally different direction. So 2 years. I think that's 2 years. I think it's too much, but I think that's what it looks like.
correct me if I'm wrong, but that's when Kyle Shanahan's contract is over. 2 more
I
years.
don't even know. Is that right?
Yeah. So it lines up.
Oh, see, that's another thing. I don't think the Niners want to fire Kyle Shanahan because firing coaches is expensive. You have to hire another one. His salary is guaranteed. He could always just not work for a year just to spite you and get your money. And to be controversial because everyone thinks he'd be so good and you get another job when he wants it. Where you could just say, you know what? He walked away. We mutually parted ways. The contract was up. Do that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's what the Eagles did with Andy Reid.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, Juice, Mac Jones, both 2 years. Kyle, I think, has 2 more years on the contract.
When does Kyle Shanahan's contract expire? I'm asking Google's.
I'm pretty sure.
Shanahan was linked through. I don't know. I might have to ask Grok that question. You think Grok would know?
I'm pretty sure.
2026? 2026. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
could be wrong. It's happened.
Could be right. It could be right too.
Once or twice. I've been wrong before. Believe it or not.
Okay. Not this time though. Let's look at BetUS and check out the odds for MVP. Where's Brock? Plus 3,000 right here. He's in the same tier as Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. Yikes. Caleb Williams has better odds. Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert. So based off this, what would he like? 12th best odds. Is that roughly where he would rank in the NFL? 12th?
Yeah, because he's a quarterback. Well, I have Brock between 12 and 15, so I think that's as a quarterback, you mean? Yeah. I think that's fair. I think Josh Allen is going to win it this year, or Joe Burrow. Those are my guesses. But yeah, I don't see Brock winning it ever.
Yeah. It could be Burrow. It could be Jaden Daniels. That guy's so good.
Yeah. Could be,
but it's going to be Brock for sure. I'm going to put down $50 on Brock, and if he wins, then I win $1,500.
Yeah,
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Let's see where Kyle is. Ooh, Defensive Player of the Year. Let's see. Who we got? Where's Bosa?
Bosa's there.
Plus 1,600. What do you think? This is the worst bet you could possibly put down.
I would not do it. I think Fred Warner has a better shot than Bosa.
Where's Fred Warner? Plus 6,000?
That's the bet. That's the bet right there.
There it is. Ooh, I like that. Okay, hold on. Let's do more. Let's do one more. Offensive Player of the Year. Let's see where Christian is. Christian. Here. Plus 2,200.
You just want to bet on Niners today, I'm assuming. I would.
Not necessarily. I think betting on Christian McCaffrey is throwing your money away. He's not. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who I would bet on Offensive Player of the Year. That's tough, but I don't think it's going to be Christian. I'd be surprised if he has a bounce back season, does it again.
What about Derrick Henry? Think he can do one more year? So close this year.
I don't think so, dude. I don't think so.
It
could be. Who do the Bears get at running back? I'm curious.
I don't know. Who do the Bears get at running back? I think they got to draft someone.
Did they? Because
I think they have to. Yeah,
their offensive line is stacked now.
It is stacked.
With Ben Johnson, I would imagine that's the direction they go. Let me see.
Well, I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey.
All right, go ahead.
just because.
Is it Swift?
Yeah.
Swift, the running back?
Yeah, I don't like Swift. They're going to draft someone. I don't like Swift. I'm placing my bets. I'm locking them in. I could potentially win $5,600. That's huge. You should go to BetUS and then check it out as well. Play some of their live casino games. See, you feel me? All right. Rod Simmons says, no, we got you, Rod. Hold on. Dave Barkley says, can the real Brock Purdy please stand up and leave? Would Niner fans really be I don't think they would accept a full rebuild. I feel like some Niner fans want it, but if it actually happened, they'd freak out.
I mean, they don't really have a choice sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, as much as we think we do, we don't, right? So the Niners should be doing whatever they need to do. And that's why that's what I'm curious about, what the hell they're doing this year. Like, what are they doing? Are they rebuilding? Like, it just seems like they're always halfway in, halfway out. Like, if you're going to rebuild. If you're not, like, then bring in.
It seems like they're trying to be the Rams, but they're just they're always a couple years behind the Rams. Like, well, look, the Rams won a Super Bowl. The next year they went 5-12, and then the next year they went young, retooled, went 10-7. We can do that too. Now we lost the Super Bowl, but the year we came back, we went 6-11. Didn't go well. We're going to do what the Rams did. We're going to gut our defense. We're going to go young and cheap on. Shut up. Sorry, bet you ass. We're going to go young and cheap on defense. And we have our franchise quarterback. I mean, Brock's been a more efficient quarterback than Matthew Stafford since he entered the league. More efficient. So we have our quarterback. We have a better coach. Why shouldn't we win 10 games this year? It's no problem.
I mean, they should win 10 games, but that's the goal. Like, let's just win 10 games. Like, that's the problem.
Yeah, let's say we're competitive. Let's save a lot of money. Let's stay in the mix. Let's stay interesting. And then, boom, in 2026, Ayuk's back and Christian McCaffrey's old and Trent Williams is old, and then we'll make our move.
This is the thing that bothers me, and I've been saying it for, I think, a year and a half, 2 years now. I feel like we're just wasting our damn time. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't feel like they're going to win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan. I just don't feel like that. I know they were close. I understand. I know what you guys are going to say, but that took the perfect formula. A top 3 defense, Christian McCaffrey, offensive player of the year. They're not going to get that roster back again. And I feel like in 2 years, we're going to be finally rebuilding with a new head coach and a new quarterback. And you guys just remember me talking to you right now about this. And it's frustrating for me. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I forgot to wear green. Ahmed Chowdhury says they could give Purdy over $50 million per year, but no guaranteed money after 2026. That's, I bet, what they want. I think 2026 seems to be like the eject button for the 49ers. After the next 2 years, they could just completely start over. Because that would be 2026 is year 10, right?
Yeah. That would be 11. It's year 9 right now, right? No, right. You're right. That'd be year 10.
That'll be year 10.
Yep.
Okay. So 10, all right. Still too much. I don't like the idea of Kyle Shanahan having the same length of tenure as Bill Walsh. You didn't earn that.
No.
Bill had to win 3 Super Bowls to make it that far.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No different.
Ahmed says, no guaranteed money after year 1 for Sam Darnold. Interesting. 2026, the next 2 years, this is key. It's going to be, and here's the thing about it, like, it's going to be Brock making a lot of money potentially, but not big money, and him having his offense around him and a dirt cheap defense with Robert Saleh. It could work out, but if they miss on some of these early draft picks like they have in the past, and they get like another Solomon Thomas or Javon Kinlaw or Reuben Foster, this team is screwed, because they're not really built to be an offensive team. They want to limit possessions and limit the passing attempts and run the ball. And that's really a lot easier to do when you have a dominant defense.
Yeah. And I'm so worried about this Christian McCaffrey situation. And, I like Isaac Grendo, but he doesn't seem like an every down back to me. So they need a running back, need one.
Yeah, Garendo is like a pure backup running back. He never proved that he could carry a large workload and stay healthy. I mean, he had injury issues in college as a change of pace backup, and he had injury issues last year as a change of pace backup. So yeah, they're not only do they have to draft a running back, but they're going to draft a running back, probably higher than they should. They're probably going to do this. What they do? They're going to trade up for the guy Kyle wants in round 3. Cam Scatty-Boo, of course. Then they're going to draft another running back round 6, round 7, maybe just an undrafted free agent. He's going to be clearly better than Cam Scatty-Boo.
Yeah,
clearly.
I think so. I think. Well, no offense to Cam. I don't know what Cam, but like that seems like the formula. They got to bring in 2 running backs.
Yeah, no offense to Cam. It's not Cam specific. It's whoever the Niners trade up for in round 3. That running back won't be as good as the next running back they take. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. If Cam's watching, that was definitely not anything targeted at you. This is a Kyle Shanahan thing. Whoever he trades up for is cursed. I don't know why. No chance.
Yeah.
No chance. All right. Well, what do you think the next move the Niners are going to make? We're waiting around for them to do something. Is it going to be trading Ayuk, extending Brock? What's the next one?
Who the hell's going to trade for Ayuk? That thing blows me away too, right? Like, why would you trade for a guy who's like, I like Brandon Ayuk, but dude's knee was wrecked. And like,
so we traded this guy for this guy, and he's probably not going to play this year, but we traded for him now. Like, why?
who would do that at his price? So I don't think they're going to find a partner for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they'd like to, but I don't think they can.
I think a whole lot of nothing is what's expected for the 49ers over the next few weeks. That's what I think. When
are they finally going to extend Brock? Like, when is that going to happen? Or it's not that simple, right? I mean, they could just hold firm with their fair offer and he could not take it.
I don't know, but I wouldn't expect any real movement till May at the earliest. I don't think anything happens before then. I'd be surprised.
I think we did a good job as like a chat and co-host sort of figuring out what the Niners could be thinking here. I think the idea of whatever numbers they need to call it to, satisfy Brock's ego, call it whatever, 50 million, whatever. But the fact of the matter is the guaranteed money is not going to be that high. And it's going to run out after 2 years because it seems that this whole operation is on notice and has 2 years to prove something.
Even if it's 3 with Brock, that would just give him 1 year with the new situation. And that doesn't guarantee he would be a starter in 3 years from now either.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you could give him a 3-year deal, but 2 years guaranteed. Well, you got 2 years guaranteed for Mac Jones. I don't know. I just want to see a quarterback competition. I'm tired of Kyle. There's not enough competition on this team, in my opinion. I know it seems like, oh, you just want controversy and you just want chaos. Like, no, I just want the best players to play. And this team isn't good at figuring out who their best players are. They're not because they don't have competition.
If you brought in a real fullback to try to outblock Kyle Juszczyk, I'm sure you could find it. I'm sure you could.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, there's so many people who are so entrenched in their spot in the team. It's like, you should have to compete for that every freaking year. What are you talking about? Juszczyk's our guy. What? He's not as good as there's better fullbacks out there, better blockers out there, and then just better players on the team that could be out there. They don't have to have 21 personnel. I get upset.
What player, Kyle Juszczyk, Jimmy Garoppolo, who have started on more of a third base? Jimmy G. Kyle
Juszczyk, man. I mean, he's a 9-time Pro Bowler, dude. Like, I really saw something like he's one of the only running backs in NFL history, along with Walter Payton and Barry Sanders. Like, do not put him in the same freaking. What are you talking about? He doesn't play their position. He's not a fullback. He's a tight end. He's a small tight end.
Do you know where he's ranked? You know where he was ranked last year amongst run blocking fullbacks?
Tell me.
5th out of like 9.
That sucks. Let me look up his PFF.
He was. I remember. I just saw a tweet from me this morning. Let's see. I'll pull it back up. It was an old one.
His overall grade was 61.8, which is mediocre to bad. His receiving grade was 57.2, which is mediocre to bad, and his rushing grade was 49.4, which is bad. 4th. There's only 5 fullbacks. There's only 5 fullbacks who have PFF grades who play enough to get a grade. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, dude?
He was 5th.
Why are we even? They shouldn't even call him a fullback. He's a tight end.
I knew I wrote it here, November 12th, 2024. I looked it up because he had a really bad blocking game. He was 5th amongst all fullbacks in run blocking out of 9.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I'm not impressed. But he's getting better.
He's haven't peaked yet.
Hasn't peaked yet. Just wait. It's like you see like what LeBron's doing with the Lakers. That's his check. Yeah. That's going to be the next act. And that's why the Niners brought him back. So everyone, thanks for watching. I'll be around, waiting around for the Niners to do something. They do something, I'll do another stream. Until then, I'm going to go around Oakland eating food, man. Getting big. I got a hyphy burger.
Hey, you didn't respond.
To what?
I tweeted to you, dude. Go to Richmond. What happened? Go to Toucan El Toucan.
Oh.
In Richmond.
That's your favorite taqueria?
I don't know about my favorite, but it's hella good. Like quesadilla. Get the quesadilla. Go.
Okay. I'll go. But my whole thing right now is I'm doing just Oakland I'm going to start off just Oakland.
All right.
There's a pop-up in the East Bay that's going around, like makes chopped cheeses. I kind of want to go. Have you ever had a chopped cheese? It's a New York thing.
I haven't, but guess what I heard, dude? Somebody told me about this new service where you can order food from
the East Coast. Yeah. And they'll like mail it to you. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds interesting.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, like I need a slice of pizza from Joe's in Manhattan right now. It's like, all right. Done. Say less. I don't know. I need a. What would you get? A bratwurst from Chicago.
Yeah. No, deep dish.
Deep dish. Could be good. Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back when the Niners do something. Do something, Niners. But don't get rid of